Shalom, everyone. Welcome to our next podcast. We'll be talking about a particular topic that I think is very relevant, and this particular podcast or recording is not going to delve too deeply into it. I'm actually going to spread this out over the next couple of weeks because it is such a big topic. There's several different things that go into this topic, and therefore a lot of research has to be done into it, and not just on my part as a teacher, but as well as yours, because there could be certain people on one side of the issue that really need to not be convinced by me necessarily, but to be able to test the subject matter and objectively come to it in an exegetical way so that they can see for themselves the truth. And, I'm kind of not really a mediator in a so-called debate per se, but, it's just one of those topics you have to look into for yourself. Because depending on which side of it you're on, it could be offensive, so to speak. So, excuse me, I'm looking into something here. Whoopsie. So I have to edit this post. On Facebook, facebook.com/Hebraic Perspectives, I am sharing a link that I accidentally messed up. And the link is, I'm sharing this because I said I would, and I think it is good. It deals with an orphanage. It is risingcampministries.org. They are based out of Uganda, Africa, and it is, in my opinion, something worth looking at, so please do go over there, check out that website. Something else I wanted to make mention of, the forums. As many of you already know, Jim and I both have been working on it a lot. It's been one of those processes, and both of us, he's working for free. I'm not working for free. I have to. I'm not getting paid, but what I mean is I have to, I'm having to basically put the money into the website. It's these forums that are based mostly for Messianics, but anyone really is welcome, one of those kind of things. And the forums are almost done. We're trying our best to find this chat system, but it's hard because I've literally found chat systems for websites that cost in the thousands of dollars. One that I really wanted was $1,000, and I was like, no. But there's others that are cheaper, but then there are the free ones that aren't as good, but they do basically what a chat system calls for. So, it's just kind of one of those things. And the process is just one of those things. There's the two things. There's something with the banner, and there's something with the chat system. Once those two things are done, I'd feel more comfortable letting it go live and telling people, hey, come on, check it out. So that's that. Also, I have finished writing my second book. It's a 5-chapter book, but the subject matter is very something that I've seen that has kind of been it's not something that it's something that's discussed, but I've never seen anyone go into great detail. They just kind of, they brush it off, and they say, well, I think it's this, and they just kind of leave it at that, and everyone around them goes, oh, okay. And so you really have to, if you end up getting this next book and reading it, you really have to pay attention to what I'm getting at as far as the topic is concerned, Otherwise, you'll miss everything. And due to this study and writing this book, I've recently gone through some pretty radicalizations. I don't think I said that right. Some radicalizations in my life that were basically, it's taken a toll on me personally. It's one of those personal things that I would request prayer for. And on that note, I believe that's everything I need to update on. I'm working, but I kind of mentioned I was going to be working on something called Hebrew in America vlog. It's a video blog. Last year, I did something called Messianic in America. And no, I'm not denouncing being Messianic. It's nothing like that. You'll get it once you see the vlog. I've been working on it, but I'm not going to be doing it like I did back then, where I recorded a full day of me doing stuff and then kind of compact that into 10 minutes. I'm just going to, every once in a while record some things that we're doing, and maybe it'll be every other week or maybe once a month. I'm not sure yet, but you'll see what I'm talking about. On that note, I think that should be it, and we'll get into what I'm talking about. Now, today isn't particularly a teaching. It's more so getting the baseline for what we are going to be talking about for the next few weeks. And honestly, this could take up the next year if we really went there, if we really got that in depth with the topic. It's, there's two sides of it, and I'll basically go ahead and tell you what it is. First, I want to share with you this book. Now, I read this a few years ago, and it was good. It's written by a Karaite Jew named Nehemiah Gordon. It's called the Hebrew Yeshua versus Greek Jesus, or versus the Greek Jesus, and it's based a lot on the study of something called Shem Tov's Hebrew Matthew. It is a Hebrew manuscript of the book of Matthew, or the scroll of Matthew, Matyahu, or Matasyahu, depending on your dialect. But the topic in this is very good, and the Karaite Jew Nehemiah Gordon, many of you have known about him. I know he's a very popular teacher. He does not believe in Yeshua as the Messiah, but he does show him great respect in that he, in somebody's words, I can't remember who it was that said it, but they basically gave Yeshua an A+ for reaching out and getting people to return, or teshuvah, to Torah. And so, in that respect, I kind of trust promoting that book in a sense. But my study is not based on that particularly. That's just one thing that I kind of want to present. And the topic that we're going to be talking about is the difference between Jesus and Yeshua. And some of you call him Yehoshua because it's more based on Joshua, the name Joshua. Yeshua means salvation. Jesus doesn't mean anything. But I do have a video on YouTube that you can check out that shows kind of the linguistic evolution of the name, of how we got from Yehoshua to Yeshua to Jesus to Jesus to Jesus. It's this huge process, but I kind of explain it, and it was more based on my argument as to why I don't believe that the name Jesus or Jesus means Hail Zeus, and you have to watch the video. I'm not going to get into that right now, but lost my train of thought. The arguments that come out between this is that it's not only that Yeshua is the correct name and Jesus is not. It's not really about that. There's a large sum of people who argue that Jesus and Yeshua are two completely different people. Now, not that there were two different people that actually existed. It's just the portrayal of who each of these people are completely different. Because on the one hand, you have the Hebrew Yeshua, who was the Mashiach, who came from the tribe of Yehuda, and he came to call the lost sheep of Israel back into Torah, and also to renew the covenant that was made between the Almighty, our Father, and His people. That's pretty much the perspective. Of course, there's always more to it, but that's pretty much the perspective that you get when you talk about the Hebrew Yeshua. Most people who call him Yeshua, based on his Hebrew name, they're into Torah, and they practice the Moedim. Not practice, they observe the Moedim. But then you have, and here he calls him the Greek Jesus, and it's because you more so get Jesus from the Greek version, which is Jesus, and Jesus is from the perspective of many Christians and most, that he is someone who came. He started Christianity. He started the religion of Christianity. He did away with the law, and he made a new covenant rather than a renewed covenant. And he's not. It was originally from Mashiach, which is Messiah, yes, but he is more so known as the Christ or Christ, from the Christos Greek version. And two, I was going to say something that left my mind. I apologize. I cannot stress enough how busy I have been lately. It's been ridiculous. But it's basically that if you look in the Brit Hadashah, the Renewed Covenant, or the New Testament, you look at 2 Corinthians 11:4. I'll read from the New International Version because it's right there. It says, "For if someone comes to you and preaches a Jesus other than the Jesus we preached, or if you receive a different spirit from the spirit you received, or a different gospel from the one you accepted, you put up with it easily enough." He goes on to talk about some other things, but he says basically that there could be, and there are people who are going out and teaching another Jesus. In this particular translation, originally he would have said, that they're teaching, that there may be someone who is teaching another Yeshua from the Yeshua we, as the emissaries or the apostles, preached to you originally. So there's definitely that element, and me having been having come into Torah, and being acquainted with the Hebrew roots and coming to know Father in the Hebraic perspective, which is the whole point of most everything I do online. My website, michaeldsofer.com. Sofer is Hebrew for scribe, but you go to my YouTube channel and you see all these videos that are talking about the Hebrew side of things and the Hebraic perspective, and how our mindsets should be, rather than being Greek, should be Hebrew. And if Facebook.com, I call that page the Hebraic Perspectives, as well as the podcasts, is because I want us to get back to the Hebrew way of doing things rather than the Greek. And something I explain in my new book that's about that'll be coming out hopefully soon. I still need to come up with a cover and some other things. Oh, and I gotta get published, of course. But something I talk about in that is that there is a difference between the Greek and the Hebrew mindset. Now, the Greek seems to be a very philosophical mindset. Just because someone says that, oh, the tree is beautiful, the Greek mindset will say, well, what is a tree? What is beauty? And they'll just kind of go around the topic, but in my opinion, and I'll let you know when it's my opinion. But based on my studies, it is my opinion that the Hebrew mindset will hear the tree is beautiful, and the Hebrew will say, "Yeah, that tree is beautiful." It's like, why stress it? And sure, we do have drushes, midrash, where you try to find the deeper meaning into certain things. But it's very straightforward. When you have the perspective of Jesus, sorry, my window's open, so everything's louder out there. When you have the Hebrew perspective, and when you're talking about Jesus, which I used to call him that, and I confess, I used to go to Christian church. I was raised in Church of God, Pentecostal. I was a youth pastor in Pentecostal and Congregational Holiness churches, and I taught Jesus, and it was Jesus that did away with the law and gave us freedom and liberty and all this kind of stuff. Today, it's actually hard for me to say Jesus because it's just it's so strange to me because back, and I don't, if you want to use the name Jesus, fine. I'm not saying anything against you for that. It's just I know that the name or the term Jesus has no definition. If you take his actual name, the one he was given at birth, which is something I do go over in my first book, Restoring the Path. If he was given a birth certificate at his birth, it would not say Jesus. His parents, through the instruction of the messenger from the Almighty, told them to name him Yeshua, for he shall Yoshia his people, or name him salvation. That's what Yeshua means, for he shall Yoshia, save his people. So for me, I just can't pray to Jesus. I can't talk about Jesus, and because I don't find meaning behind that name. Again, if you want to use that name, go for it. I just want you to think on these things. I'm not one of those, however, who says, no, you must use the Hebrew terms. People call Elohim God. People call Adonai Lord. And people call Yeshua Jesus. People call Mashiach Christ. I don't think, you'll quote-unquote end up in hell for these things. There's a helicopter flying over my house right now, and you can probably hear that. I apologize. But the way I see it is that when you do learn the Hebrew, and when you actually start using the Hebrew terms, you get further knowledge and understanding of who he is, of what he means, and that's something else that what my next book is kind of getting to the heart of, is that it's truly understanding. And I'll go ahead and tell you what the book is about. It's basically about the Hebrew version of what fear is, how we're commanded to fear God, and if you feared Him in the way He commands, and there's different versions of fear, which I talk about in the book. There's different Hebrew words, but the two that I focus most on is Yirah and Yareh, which basically means fear and reverence. It's these two different words kind of combined, and I'll go into it. You got to get the book. But if you truly feared Him, if you had Yahweh for the Almighty, then you would translate His scriptures properly. That's where the difference comes in between what I see in the people who believe in Yeshua, or who Yeshua Himself is and was when He walked the earth, versus those who follow Jesus. And again, I'm not denouncing those who still call Him Jesus, but the point is that who Jesus is versus who Yeshua is. And there's a large group of people who think that they're literally just two different people. They're two different entities, because like I said, one teaches Torah, the other teaches freedom from Torah. You know, no more Torah versus, yes, still Torah. Get back to it. And when you see those two different things, you have to wonder, you have to ask yourself, who is it that I'm following? Am I following the right one? Because, let's face it, as 2 Corinthians says, that someone is out there teaching a different Yeshua than the Yeshua that was originally taught to them. And I believe that Yeshua is the Yeshua that teaches to teshuvah, to return to Torah, to the way that the Almighty instructed us to walk. The other Yeshua, or the Jesus, as per the topic is, he's the one who they started teaching. That is the opposite of the original, you know. Excuse me. And most of what we'll talk about, I have to kind of wrap this up because I don't have much time left. But what we'll be going over the next few weeks is trying to figure out which is the right one. You know what I mean? We have to figure out who is Yeshua. Because when we teach in his name, because remember, we are Talmudim, we are his disciples. And the Brit Hadashah later, in many of the writings, the epistles and such, one particular, I can't tell you where it is. I'll try, if you're on YouTube, I'll try to put a link up if I remember, because I'm not going to immediately edit this. But he says that we are ambassadors, or representatives of Messiah. That means that who we say he is and how we are in our lives, whether we keep the Shabbat, the Sabbath, whether we keep the Moedim, the feast or appointed times, whether we keep the Torah and understand that it is still relevant and still alive and active today, or not, depends on who we are following. We're either following the real Yeshua or the fake Yeshua. Now, I don't know if there's people out there that literally believe that there was a Yeshua who walked the earth, and then there was also a Jesus who walked the earth. I don't know if those people exist or not. I don't know if that belief is out there, if it's prevalent or not. But we have to get to the heart of this matter, because either one of them is correct or the other one is correct. One of them is wrong and the other one could be wrong as well. One is wrong, one is correct. We have to get to the point where we know who's who and which one we should be following. Because let's face it, there are those who are out there following one version of the Messiah that is incorrect. And there's many warnings throughout Scripture, throughout the Brit Hadashah, by Yeshua himself, that he gets to the point where he's saying that if you teach wrong, then you will be held even more accountable and face even stricter and more harsh judgment than others. We who are teachers, we have to know who we're teaching to others. Which this counts all of us, we who are followers need to know who we are following. Because I could, I know my wife too well, but if someone came in posing as my wife, and saying, hey, I'm your wife, and would I have the sense to know the difference? Now, of course, I could look at her, I could hear her, I know my wife, and, just all over, I know my wife. But the point, it's probably a bad example, but the point is that if someone comes, and Yeshua also warned us of this, and he says there will be many who come in his name, but they are false versions of the Messiah, false teachers of the Messiah. We need to know who they are, and that's the whole point of this. We need to know who the true prophets are and the false prophets. We need to know who the real Messiah is and who is the false Messiah. who, in my opinion, I would say is the anti-Messiah or the Antichrist. So we need to get to this. And we will be getting into Scripture. We will be discussing what one group teaches about him, what another group teaches about him, what another group teaches about him. Because really, there's several different versions of who he is. And the way they are portrayed, we can honestly say that that person, that portrayal of Yeshua, he never existed. But there is one version of him that really did exist. He walked the earth, he did everything that is claimed of him, and he taught exactly this. That Messiah did exist and does exist. And that's what we're going to be getting into the next few weeks. So, if you know some people who you want to get in on this, now's the time. Start sharing, because people are asking questions. They are, they're curious. They want to know, and I want them to know. And the Messiah himself wants them to know as well. He wants people to know who he is, and in turn, that way we can find who we are. We can find our identity in him. We can know who we are when we know who he is. And with that, I'm going to call that the end of this message, because I'm out of time. So thank you, Total Rabbi, for listening to this podcast. Please share it with coworkers, family, and so on. Please consider getting my book and be looking out for my new book. I don't know when that will be ready, hopefully soon. I need to proofread it one more time. But I will ask for your prayers, particularly on this message, particularly on the things that I'm trying to accomplish for our Creator, reaching out to the people in my community, creating a community online for like believers in the Messiah through these forums. I hope that will go well. It's a great place, really. I've set up a lot of places. There's men only, there's women only. There's a place for preteens, teenagers, young adults, singles, married people, because I'm married. There's a book section and music and just all kinds of stuff. And I just want this great community. I want us all to be able to talk to one another and ask questions of each other and seek advice and give advice. And, just be encouraging. There's also a section, and my cousin Jim, who's also the site administrator, one of them, I'm now a site administrator, because a forum website is infinitely easier than coding. He's already posted a prayer request in the prayer request section. Be praying for him to find a job, and, well, you'll see it when I post the website link. Okay, I'm getting out of breath. I need to go drink some water, and thank you very much. Be blessed and lift up his name, for his name is great, Jehovah El Shaddai, the Almighty. Hallelujah. And go in peace, be blessed, and I hope you have a great week. Shabbat Tov. Shalom.